Janet Redmond. You were on the documentary of Stylebender.
What you saw in the documentary was called a rage hold. So it's a really safe way of releasing old anger that's been in there for a long time.
What actually is trauma?
Janet Redmond definition?
Yeah, yes, please.
Unprocessed, neglected, key life events. Why do you think you have to look after them?
I feel like it's my duty, so I put pressure on myself.
How come your mum was a solo mum?
So my dad left when I was in my last year of primary school.
What was it like to watch your mum after your dad left?
We used to struggle heavily.
So you think you're not doing enough?
I just want my mum to be happy.
Impossible task to make a woman happy. Do you know why? I want people to be healed enough so that they bring their gifts to the world.
And I want to go to younger Janet. What's the one thing you'd want to say to her?
This is usually my job. You're turning back on me. I love it.
Kia ora everyone, Zach and Jake here from The Martin Show. Just a friendly reminder to please subscribe to our channel. It helps the channel more than you know, and it gives us more opportunity to be able to bring great guests. We appreciate all the love we have received in 2024. 2025 is going to be a massive year. Enjoy all the episodes coming up, whānau. Much aroha. To the moon.
Janet Redmond, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Janet, if you had to describe what it is that you do, how would you describe that?
If only it was that easy. Depends on what it is I'm doing. I certainly hold space for people to identify the survival mechanism they created in order to survive their family, school, the current culture. And come 18, that survival system really needs to go down, be parked and go through initiation processes to become adult and responsible. We don't have them in modern culture. I've got 3 adult sons. The initiation they went through is getting a car, shaving. So when a culture, and our current culture doesn't have initiations to help us grow up and become more responsible, then people are floundering. So what do? I help. Well, this last weekend I held a building communication bridges inside and out training in theatre too. Wow. And by lunchtime, I won't spoil the magic of it in case people want to come. By lunchtime, people took responsibility that they were setting up their communication in such a way as to reinforce their not okayness. So for me, that's really important. It's not bad, but we came to conclusions about ourselves that aren't true. But they helped us stay inside, stay our true self, helped it stay in hiding. So what do? I call myself a possibility manager. I'm a village weaver. I love bringing people together. I've got many roles.
How do we know if we're not okay? You mentioned at lunchtime, these people took responsibility. How do we know if we're not okay?
By the stories we tell ourselves, by the standard human intelligence thoughtware, SHIT is the acronym, and where we've come to really believe, in my personal experience, I really concluded and believed it that I was unlovable growing up. It's not true. However, it was the conclusion I came to, and an identity I lived, a bit like having a wetsuit on, till I've taken a long time, but that's okay, to know that was never true, but the belief I'm unlovable help me keep the pain of any unmet needs out of awareness, my feelings, because I'm from Lancashire, England, you keep a stiff upper lip. You know?
Wow.
So all the things that were disowned because they weren't welcomed, we put them down the manhole, under a big manhole underneath the ground. So answering your question, in order to survive, part of our survival mechanism, somebody has to be not okay. Whereas if we've had a caregiver that can really attune to our feelings and feelings are welcome, it's okay to have needs, okay to say no, using anger for consciously no or yes, then the survival mechanism isn't so ingrained.
I'm unlovable.
I believed it.
Wow.
And I'm so lovable and loved now. Or another one, lots of people have, there's something wrong with me. I'm not good enough. There's something wrong with me. I don't matter. They're the conclusions, though, that keep the manhole lid squashed down.
Yeah. And so your role is to get these individuals who feel like they have those thoughts to break free of that.
First of all, what matters to me is that they find reverence for their survival system engineer that created that perfect scenario, perfect structure to help them survive, but it doesn't help them thrive. So I've worked a lot with people who think they want to suicide. Well, suicide for me, 90% of people who want to suicide think it's a future event, as if it's something they're going to do in the future. My research shows it's a part of themselves they killed off in the past. And so I draw that for them. And then we take a look at what parts of yourself did you kill off or put in hiding in order to survive your family.
What made you get involved in this line of work?
I would say from being a really little girl. I'm the eldest of three, and there's three of us under four. My dad was in the army and intuitively could see that was too much for mum, 3 little ones. So that little professor, the intuition that worked out, well, if you be a good girl or be strong and help your mum. Yeah.
Wow. And since then, you've done many years of counseling.
Mm-hmm. Trained as a counsellor.
Psychotherapist.
Then it went on to become a psychotherapist. Then I trained counsellors and psychotherapists at an international level. Like, it was really a journey. I wanted to be as skilled as I could be to help people free themselves of that survival mechanism they created, so that they can bring forth the seed that only they have, like you. Only you can do what you're doing Zach way, right? So the world needs each little piece that every one of us has inside. Sometimes really deep inside and way out of reach. But so it matters to me. So we can create a world that works for everyone. To help people find a seed in them that's only theirs to birth and to grow and to nurture.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Do you look like you know something about this?
Oh, my brother and I have similar conversations. Instead of the word seed, we use the word gift.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has a gift. And
yes.
How do we get people to identify their own gifts and then spread those gifts to the world, however that may look? In your line of work, how do you get people to recognize their own potential, to recognize their gifts?
Well, first of all, I listen to where they're at. I deregistered. I retired as a counselor and psychotherapist, and that's why I call myself a possibility manager. First of all, by really listening to where they're at and listening in such a way they get to see how they came to be the way they are and why. And I'm particularly focused on it being a feelings-based space so people can take radical responsibility for what it is they want to create in the world.
You can only do and say so much to an individual, right? And what I mean by that is you can say all the correct things or try to help an individual recognize these gifts or potential, but at the end of the day, they have to sort of acknowledge and take responsibility to then take those steps forward. Do you agree with that? So you can only do so much?
Yeah, and I'm not trying to teach them anything, which is a big difference, because I know the wisdom's inside them. So I want to know how you answered 3 questions you didn't know you were even answering as a kid. How does a person, if I had say it to you, you can always delete it, right?
Absolutely.
How does a person like you, Zach, how did a person like you get along in the world you lived in with the people around you? So we don't know we're answering those 3 questions, but the answer to them is the survival system we create. So, we make our own decisions about, oh, well, I'll just look after other people. That was mine. I'll be Snow White and look after all these dwarves as a myth, as a storyline. And it worked.
Did you feel like you put too much pressure on yourself to look after these other people?
Yeah, eventually, especially when I started having children, that, what did I use? The metaphor I used was the wetsuit. The wetsuit started perishing in the sun. And that's when I began to look at everything that was underneath my manhole, the things I'd buried and disowned, pretended I didn't need. I was Miss Independent, Superwoman. And thankfully, although really scarily, when that wetsuit of Superwoman started to perish, I was really scared.
Yeah, I can resonate with that a lot. I'm the oldest son, my brother and I, and a single mom. And I don't know, I feel, especially lately, especially this year in particular, a lot of weight on my shoulders to make sure that they're okay as well. Yeah, I would say I've struggled with it this year. It's probably been one of my main ones. I don't know.
The weight to make sure they're okay. It's a huge responsibility, isn't it? That pressure.
Yeah. My mom's looked after me for my whole life. And she's done it 16 years on her own. My brother, because there's no one really else that will give him, I believe, the guidance that I would give him. And it's not necessarily saying that I'm better than other people, but just I feel like it's my duty. It's a duty of mine to look after both of them. And so I put pressure on myself because sometimes I don't feel like I'm either doing enough or doing it correctly.
Are you okay having feelings?
Am I okay having feelings? Absolutely.
Okay.
I think it's one of my, the blessings that my mum has taught me is to be able to feel.
So you think you're not doing enough?
I think it's more like I'm not happy, but I don't want where we are, again, our current circumstance. I don't want that to be the reality. So
You want something different for your mum
mm,
and your brother.
mm, yeah, that's exactly it.
What do you want to be different for them?
I just want my mum to be happy. Yeah, fully happy, just at peace. Yeah, doing everything that makes her happy.
I'll tell you a secret because I'm a woman.
Mm.
Impossible task to make a woman happy. Do you know why?
Ooh, why?
Because it's my job,
Yeah.
not yours. I get you'd love to see your mum happy,
Mm.
but that's my job and responsibility as a woman. I tried to blame other people when I wasn't happy.
Mm.
But what I've discovered now, that's my job.
Yeah, wow. So instead of thinking, I need to try and make mum happy, or I need to try give her something that might make her happy, it's, what is it? Is it let her figure it out?
Well, if I put what you're saying through my decoder, it sounds like you want to contribute to her well-being.
Mm.
Now, that's different in my mind. You want her to thrive and contribute to her well-being.
Absolutely.
Does that make any difference inside you rather than saying it's your duty? Because to me, that duty has that weight.
For sure.
But I want to contribute to her well-being.
That's beautiful.
You like that?
Yeah.
It's a big, what I call responsibility thing to untangle. What I was responsible for and what I wasn't, what I'm not. And to hold the space so that the other person make it such a condition, a space where they want to take responsibility.
Mm.
But first, we've all learned the drama triangle. We learned to blame other people, be a victim, or rescue them.
Yeah.
So ingrained, it's almost genetic. But there's more than drama triangle relating. But school doesn't teach it to us.
No.
But it's learnable. So going back to what do? I help people see where they are, they're being irresponsible in their communication, not using feelings consciously, not asking for what they want. It's that simple. I'm not saying it's easy, Zach.
No.
I couldn't believe it. In 1990, I was at Carrington Tech, where Unitech is now. And I did my first transactional analysis course. And this tutor, Daphne Andrews, I think we had 4 days learning all about drama triangle. So I said, how do you get off it? She said, it's easy. You just know what you're feeling and ask for what you want. I thought, it can't be that easy. So I spent ages trying to prove her theory wrong.
Oh.
Know what you're feeling, ask for what you want, make requests.
Do you think that men should be consciously thinking about their feelings?
I'm really curious about your word. Should men be consciously thinking about No, men need to feel their feelings. One of the space holders on the weekend, Charlotte, she had a philosopher in her group, and there was a comment about, I wonder why there's more male philosophers. Charlotte said, that's because women feel their feelings, whereas a man will use his intellectual body as a generalization. So yeah, if we all feel our feelings, then our hearts can be open.
I want to elaborate on that a little bit to know what your thoughts on this, because there are times, you may wake up in the morning and you yourself, you're like, oh, man, I feel like shit today. Should you be thinking, you're saying you need to be feeling your feelings. I feel like this is just what I've experienced, but when I've woken up and I've had a bad morning, or then that usually carries on. I might not get as much done in my day because I'm feeling shit or thinking that I'm feeling shit. Living into the past, the next day goes by, wake up again. But then some of the days, and you hear this by some of the male influencers that are out there, and they're like, don't think about your feelings. Wake up and action. It's more of an action. Just do things and
override your feelings. Be strong. Get on with it. Pretend you're not feeling these things. Yeah, I know it well. Driver behavior, I call it.
Driver behavior.
There's 5 drivers. Be strong. Please others. Be perfect. Try hard and hurry up. That's part of the survival mechanism.
Wow.
So, yeah, wow.
I think I'm in all of those 5. That's why I'm like, holy shit.
Well, and it's not a problem, but it's how whilst we're, say for me, I'll bring it personal, while I was being strong and tightening my muscles, then of course I didn't have feelings because my muscles were tight and didn't breathe much, and I hurried up, got on with it. So, think about your feelings. But for me, if you're feeling shit, I would say, which feeling is it? What are you feeling? Sad? 4 of them. Mad, sad, scared, glad. What am I feeling sad about? What am I feeling mad about? What am I feeling scared about? Or what are you feeling glad about? We're not taught any of this emotional fluency at school. And if you mix your anger and sadness together, Zach, have a sense, if you're mixing your anger and sadness, what does that feel like inside?
Makes me want to punch something. It's like a really emotional rage.
Because for me, from possibility management, there's a map of mixed emotions and depression when we're trying to use our anger to push sadness down. That mixture is depression. So some of the work I do is, hey, let's unmix these. What are you sad about? What are you angry about? Because what I'm angry about is what I care about.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, your face lights up.
Oh my God.
If it's the conscious use of anger, what I am angry about, I care about.
And that's why it's so hard, right? Because you feel that rage maybe to an individual or situation, but it's because you care about that individual or situation.
If something matters to you, like you with your mum, you care about her thriving. You want her well-being. Yeah.
Stay on the male subject. In 2023, you were on the documentary of Stylebender, Israel Adesanya. You are his therapist. Oh, possibility manager. Yeah.
I don't. Yes, it's possibility manager.
Let's just switch that very quickly. Talk to me about that experience. That was in 2023, I believe.
It came out in August 2023. I'd had a training down at the Sharda Retreat Centre, and Zoe, which was the producer of Stylebender, was there.
Wow.
And she said, I think that was a 3-day training. She said, what you do needs documenting, I think, is that the right word?
Yeah.
Filming.
Yeah.
And I didn't think any more of it. And I didn't know she was shooting the movie. And then she rang me up one day and she said, this documentary is just going to be a normal sports person's documentary unless we do something different. Will you come and do live work with Izzy? So, yes, definitely. Have you seen the movie?
I have.
Yeah. So it's shot in a lot of it's shot in my camper van in the Flying Walker.
The Flying Walker.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
But we went to his place. That's not because it wasn't filmed, showing Israel how to know the distinction between an emotion, which is always from the past and needs expressing, or some process of an emotional healing process. Important distinction, versus a feeling, still mad, sad, scared, or glad, but I'm using those 4 energies consciously, responsibly, and in service of creating the results I want.
Wow.
So with him, what you saw in the documentary was clearing some old emotion from him being bullied, from the pain and the trauma of his immigration. You know, he stood out, Nigerian guy, only black person in a sea of white faces. So he had a chip on his block. I mean, he had emotions. He needed healing.
Yeah.
So what's not on the documentary, unfortunately, is when I went to his house and I asked him to bring his mates so that he could do what you saw on the documentary. It's called a rage hold. So it's a really safe way of releasing old anger that's been in there for a long time. So you saw that when in the documentary, it was filmed in my sister's lounge. And you saw that one. Yeah. Do you remember the bit with the neighbor wondered what the hell was going on, and he came across looking. We didn't know that they were filming that. Yeah. But he said that made a big shift for him. Because it releases energy that's been locked up.
The emotion and feeling, Fakaro, that you just mentioned.
It needs healing.
Yeah. The thing that stands out for me as well, I really want to actually ask about the other boys, the other men that came, the other fighters that were there, and what, I guess, their experience seeing Israel like that or working with you as well. And I guess for men in general, doing mahi like that, doing work like that, because it's very rare to see, particularly warriors, guys that are...
Well, especially warriors, because usually they're covering their feelings.
Yeah.
You know? Well, I want to keep anonymity. They thought they were just coming to help Izzy, especially at his house. And they all ended up with their feelings and really being vulnerable and revealing important things. So it became 3 hours of really intimate, emotionally intimate connection.
Yeah, I think the people that I look up to the most are the individuals that are, I guess, the psycho-competitor, warrior archetype, but that are also the gentle soul, if you wish to call it, because I feel like Israel is the perfect role model for that. The ability to be able to defend yourself and your family and all those sorts of things, but also to be able to, I guess, reveal yourself as well. And there are certain individuals that do this. David Naika, who's another boxer, Joseph Parker, they're all, animals in their craft and what they do, but very beautiful men as well. And yeah, those are the individuals that speak to me the most, that I admire.
Well, with Israel, I didn't, with that style bender, because I didn't know who he was when I met him. And MMA fighting's not my scene. And I really didn't think I would recommend that documentary to anyone till I saw it. And I thought, wow, Zoe captured him at his most vulnerable, most arrogant, most powerful, like the whole range of human experience. And I recommended it to a lot of people. I said, close your eyes with the fighting scene.
Yeah.
But it was about humanity with all our shadow self and our bright self.
Welcome to the Martin Show First Ad Break. For anyone who is wanting to go on a new journey, learn a new skill, we have started our basic beginners boxing fundamentals course. For anyone, if it's your first time, if you're a seasoned member, this is the course for you in the boxing space or fitness space. Click the link below or go to onlineboxingtraining.com and I'll see you guys there. Let's get to mahi, eh?
Yeah, well, you mentioned the word trauma earlier. I want to start off by what actually is trauma?
Janet Redmond definition:
Yeah, yes, please.
unprocessed, neglected, key life events. So that's the acronym for UNCLE, but with a K, not a C.
Wow. Okay.
And you know, ancestors need to be at least beside us or behind us. But when our uncles are in front of us, we're seeing the world through that lens. So I was a trauma specialist, worked with trauma a lot. And some people had a sense that once traumatized, always traumatized. Or if I've got PTSD, I'm always going to have it. That was never my experience. So that's when I use this other word, so that what was unprocessed can be processed. What was neglected, we give the attention to the key life events that defined us, that influenced us. So it's undigested life events, undigested experiences.
So essentially, we all experience trauma, right?
I think we all experience unprocessed life events, for sure.
And it's like some of us, however, suffer with those life events and I guess live with trauma throughout most of our lives, right?
Well, because there's usually not just one event, there's another, then another, then another. There's layers and layers and layers of unprocessed life events, which need processes, which possibility management and trainings I hold, we have the processes, like completing incomplete communication. On the weekend, one of the participants talked about how much arguing and conflict there was in her family. What she'd never yelled out, because she was scared, was stop, I'm scared, which, a little kid can't do that. So I intervened. I got someone to be a warring couple, and then I said, hey, stop. And they didn't straight away, so I raised my, I want, stop, can you see she's scared? Go and sort your stuff out somewhere else. Well, it cracked her open because she'd never watched someone protect her and interrupt her parents. She was the one at 5 and 6 tried to get in between. So that was incomplete. She'd never watched someone protect her.
What's something about trauma that you wish people knew or you wish people understood, but they don't?
That your emotional body has important information, and that emotional body needs to express itself with anger for the things you're angry about, sadness for what needs crying, what needs mourning, fears so that they're not frozen, and then gladness to feel our joy and be full of joy of life. So what do I wish? I would say feeling your feelings are essential, but with a space holder. And, numbing your feelings was how you survived. You found a way to numb or to anesthetize, which is what a lot of addictions are. Drugs help keep you numb. Alcohol, being busy, gambling. Don't make them bad. They're simply outdated strategies.
Wow, yeah.
It looks like I'm talking another language
no.
here, but you're
Yes. Comprehending, absorbing, I would say. Yeah. It's almost like being able to sit still, right?
Well, that's a biggie. Because most of us want to run and distract and get on to the next thing. Part of the coping mechanism.
I really struggle to be still. You mentioned the word fear as well, and I wanted to ask you what your thoughts are on this. Because a lot of high performers, successful individuals, usually operate or have operated from a place of insufficiency or a lack of in something in their lives.
Compensation, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so they operate from a place of fear. What are your thoughts on that for people going forward? Do you think that's a healthy place to be living your life?
Well, is it the emotional fear or a feeling of fear? Hope I can get this across. So emotional fear that we don't want to feel, we usually bury. So that's under the manhole. For instance, I'm scared I won't succeed, or I'm inferior. So they put that out of awareness, and it's like, right, I'm going to be the best at something. I'm going to totally forget I have that fear of not being good enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they cover it. I call that amputation theology, to cut off parts of ourselves, pretend it's not there. That usually comes unstuck. Say when somebody retires or their business fails, or then what they have had hidden needs paying attention to. Can't override fears. But that's if it's emotional. Feeling of fear, I use my conscious fear to be the archetype of the magician. Sometimes I haven't a clue, like this. I'm the clue what I'm going to say, but my fear's raised just consciously, and I trust what's coming out my mouth. So it's using the archetype of the warrior. You use your anger consciously. Archetype of the lover or communicator. The feeling I need for that, to fuel that, is my sadness. So I can have compassion. Which one have I missed out? Fear to be the magician or wizard, sorceress, create from nothing.
Yeah.
And then joy to be queen of my world, to be full of the joy of life.
Yeah, one of your colleagues actually gave you a bit of praise in regard to that, and it's serving the space using her sharp sword or her warm heart, or both.
There you go. So the sword of clarity is the conscious use of anger. And yes, my sadness, my warm heart.
Yeah. And I love that. It's quite similar to what we're talking about the Israel, the warrior mindset, the sword, and the gentle soul, the warm heart. Yeah. And do you think that's what young men, do you think that's like an essence of what young men need to work on?
How I would start with young men is, will you write down your beliefs about being sad? So for my 3 sons, it would probably have been, oh, it's weak, means you don't have it all together, means you're a pussy, So write down what your current beliefs are about showing sadness. It's only for sissies or only for girls. Because it's those beliefs that we started with this conversation with that keeps that feeling out of awareness. What we don't grieve, we then cover with anger, emotional anger. I watch my sons use their anger when they were really sad. because they had those beliefs. And then anger for, know what your beliefs are about anger. Do your own inventory. That anger means you're out of control or that you're a bully. So all these old beliefs we have about feeling sad, mad, scared, or glad, to know what they are first. I call that the old map of emotions. But the new map, I'm using my anger for clarity, to know what I've got a yes for, to, hey, stop, that doesn't work for me. Now, that's 15%, 20% conscious anger that says stop and let's collaborate. So it's the energy to make a stand for what matters to me. Did I answer your question? What for men to do?
Young men work on.
Come to a BCB, building communication bridges inside and out.
Mm.
I call it, it's a relational gym. You don't have the muscles because you were never given the weights to strengthen it.
Mm.
So my training is a principle-based, as in bright principles, principle-based, feelings-focused relational gym.
Yeah, beautiful.
Learn the skills.
Yeah. Learn the skills. What are some of the skills off the top of your head that, is it like communication? Is it looking within? Is it self-awareness? What are some of the skills?
All of that.
Yeah.
So that's why I call it building communication bridges inside, because it's got to be with parts of yourself first and out. The big one is listen. Learning to listen, not to interrupt or to fix or to teach or all those other things that women go nuts about men doing. Just listen. So to learn to listen, to know your roadblocks to listening. So that's one of the things we cover. Know your roadblocks to expressing. So if I'm not responsible in asking for what I want, but ask in a really convoluted way, like, Zach, my tire's flat. And I'll fix it. I didn't have to ask for anything.
Yeah.
So the roadblocks to expressing, knowing when you're on the drama triangle and using your anger unconsciously to persecute someone or blame them or punish, or your sadness to be a victim and manipulate others or be stuck somewhere. And knowing when you're rescuing, because a rescuer doesn't want to feel their fear. So they look after other people. Oh, so while I'm looking after you, I don't need to know I'm shit scared. So these are the rest. This is the things we do.
Beautiful. When is the next community?
So there was one last weekend. I've got 4 coming up in May. Great Barrier, Mangawhai, Wellington, Raglan. They're all on my website, janetredmond.com.
Wow.
And then June there'll be Taupo and in the pipeline, Nelson. Are you coming? Is that why you're asking?
I think I'll be there at Mangawhai. Sounds like the closest one to where we are. I actually wanted to ask though in regards to the process. And so for someone like, let's just use Israel as an example, over the duration of the filming time, he healed a lot of things, past traumas, etc. Does an individual just stop, or do you still see him now, or do you know what I mean?
I don't want to answer that question because I've only had consent to talk about what was public in the movie.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
fair enough.
No, it doesn't stop.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I want to keep learning the next things, even though I've healed a lot of my traumas. I don't think I can ever stop growing as a human being.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that was pretty much my question. Like, does it come to a point where an individual's like, cool, I'm sweet now, I'm sorted, I'm going to move on?
Oh, I'm sure some people think there might be, and there might. But for me, I only need to be, I want people to be healed enough so that they bring their gifts to the world. And then the growing still continues and the healing still continues. That's my thought.
Yeah, I want to actually go there because I mentioned in the email about, I want to talk about abandonment issues, because it used to be something that I used to suffer with a lot as a younger boy. And then I got to a point where I didn't feel the anger anymore. I didn't feel the sadness like I used to. And it was quite strange. I thought it was strange. I was like, when I used to speak about it, I used to get very emotional straight away, whether it be anger or sadness. And I got to a point where I didn't feel it anymore. And that's, I think, why I asked, is there like a moment where someone's like, cool, I think I'm sorted in that
In that
department.
area, yes, in that one, yes. How come your mum's a solo mum? Where's your dad?
So my dad left when I was in my last year of primary school. He currently lives down in Taranaki, New Plymouth, but I don't see him or speak to him or anything like that.
I would guess you'd also have had a sense of being abandoned if he left.
Absolutely. Yeah, I used to struggle with it a lot.
So a key life event.
Yeah.
Last year of primary school.
Yeah.
Whose choice was it that he left?
His. Yeah. So there was a lot of anger as well. And I always question, honestly, Jenna, I question like where my fuel source comes from. Because I'm like, man, am I fueled to prove, again, is it to prove other people wrong? I don't think so. I don't know. But in regards to the dad kōrero, I think although I'm over it in regards to the emotional side of things, I don't get so emotional like I used to. I do know that it affects me in many other areas of my life. For example, like I even get triggered when someone might just leave me out for certain things. Like they might say like high fives all around and they don't high five me. That like, oh.
Find your sore spot.
Yeah. It's like real little things. It's like little tiny triggers.
Or seemingly little things, but they're the doorway then to a healing process.
Yeah.
What was it like to watch your mum after your dad left? Like, what did you see? Was she upset? Was she resourced or not resourced?
Yeah, we used to struggle heavily. My mum's actually like everything, like to me. She's I don't know how. Yeah, truly. She's done it all, man. I think that's where my fuel comes from now, the more that we're talking about it. It is, and that's why the weight is on the shoulders, because it's like, nah, you got to give her what she's given to you. But
out of gratitude or out of duty? Out of appreciation?
Yeah, it's a beautiful question. I would say, honestly, it's probably more the heavier side of things. I probably look at it more from a duty side of things. Like, you need to do this for your mum because she's done this for you. I think this is a great learning for me, even in this conversation, to look at it from a place of, you get to do this for your mum.
That's different. You get to do it.
Yeah.
But you need to. Say a bit more about I need to. Why do you need to do this for your mum?
I think it's because I've seen her struggle. I think it's because I've seen the pain throughout a lot of my life. And so I feel like that's where the need comes from.
Did you feel helpless at times?
Absolutely.
Her pain and her struggle.
Yeah. Even some more recent times, I feel a little bit helpless. I'm like, man, I wish I could just, for example, like retire my mom, so she doesn't have to, like my mom still works hard.
You would like to see her supported, and cared for?
Absolutely. It's a massive dream of mine, because I feel like if she's cared for, then there's a weight that's off my shoulders because I don't feel like it is my duty to make sure she's okay. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. But my hunch would be the 10-year-old that watched your mum struggle and the pain of your dad leaving. That part of you will be the emotion that gets triggered at times.
Yeah.
You know, that was a big mahi for her to be a solo mum. I know it because I did it for many years.
Yeah, wow.
It's too big a job for any one person, but we do our best.
Yeah.
She's a hard worker, eh?
She is. And we're finally at a point now where she can enjoy her life a little bit more. She doesn't have to just... I think we're also at a point now where it's... My mum even struggles to let go of my brother and I. Not let go, you know what I mean? But like, go my boys. Go
fly.
Yeah, exactly. And she's always gonna... It's like the birds leaving the nest. You know, it's like that analogy. And I think many solo mums would be able to relate to that, or
especially
mums in general, to be fair.
All parents, I'd say, but particularly, solo parents, when their whole life has revolved around looking after children. Where do you go for a mother graduation ceremony? Nowhere. Nowhere to cut. I wish every 21st had ribbons you cut, or umbilical cords that you cut and go, because then it's a grieving process as the mum. The role becomes very different from my experience.
Oh man, I know my mom still worries, like any parent, but I want to minimize that as much as possible, the worry side of things. But in regards to the abandonment, and because I speak to a lot of my friends that also have suffered with their dads not being around, being fatherless essentially, and I want to know, man, how has it affected like your life? And I've actually had a few conversations with some of my good friends about this. But I think it's something that isn't talked about as much. Like when they said, "Oh no, I haven't been in my dad's life," or "My dad hasn't been in my life," it's like, "Oh shit, you've experienced it too." Like that it's a lot more common than I think people realize. But one of the things that I feel like it has done to me and done to some of my friends is around like the fearful avoidant. Like you actually mentioned something at the beginning of this conversation, being able to love but not being able to receive the love, be lovable. I think that was what it was. And that's what I think a lot of what I've struggled and what some of my friends have also struggled with is that being able to receive the love. And my problem is when something good, it could be like relationship wise, there might be a good thing there and I'm like, I gotta go. I gotta get out of here.
Because which feeling is it? Mad, sad, scared? Or
scared.
Yeah, you get scared.
Scared. It's definitely fear.
Do you know what you get scared of?
I think it's getting hurt.
And if you have the story, I've been abandoned, the fear will be that I'll be abandoned again.
Yeah.
So usually we jump in first and cut it off.
Yeah.
But I've been abandoned is a conclusion. It's not a feeling. So it's the story, I've been abandoned, that hides the feeling of what you're sad about when your dad left, what you're scared about. No role model, no one looking after mum. Mad, sad, scared, glad, all of them. So I've been abandoned keeps those feelings out of awareness. Whereas if somebody could have said, Zach, how is it your dad's gone? And you could have had a cry at the time, let your heart break about it. And what are you scared about? And what are you mad about? When we don't have someone asking those questions so you can express the feelings, then we find a way to put it under the manhole. Wow. And the belief on the top of the manhole is, I've been abandoned. When actually, you've just got all those unexpressed emotions under there.
That's so interesting. Welcome to the Martin Show First Ad Break. For anyone who is wanting to go on a new journey, learn a new skill, we have started our basic beginners boxing fundamentals course. For anyone, if it's your first time, if you're a seasoned member, this is the course for you in the boxing space or fitness space. Click the link below or go to onlineboxingtraining.com and I'll see you guys there. Let's get some mahi, eh?
You're very interested in this stuff, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I always, it's literally another reason why we started and why a question that I always ask the guests is like, how are you the way that you are? You know, so these all conversations are literally that. Like, you're telling me a lot for why I am and why I operate the way that I do. But speaking of that, I've seen even there's some YouTube clips of what fatherless men specifically. You mentioned that you were a solo mother for your boys as well. What are the main signs or some of the effects of young men not having their dads around in their life?
There's no role model, usually. No one, even if the father was there, they may not have the tools for emotional fluency or respectful communication or being responsible. So you have to find all that. Men have to find that out for themselves. But it's like, you're in the desert blind. You don't know what you're looking for. And not having a protector by your side. I still got my mum and dad, and even though dad's 88, 89 soon, my dad was my protector at times. Yeah, so no role model, no one to go to when you've got troubles. So we learned to bottle up. And no space holder that helps you make decisions, helps you know how to make decisions. I always say, what's your conflict resolution process? How do you resolve difference? And what's your decision-making process? And most people can't answer that question. Or we just sort it out. I yell at her, or she tells me what to do, she controls me. All the drama triangle stuff. Struggle with watching, particularly my sons, not so much my daughter. Watch them not want to feel feelings and armor up and toughen up and not listen when, it's not the culture they were raised in. They used to have a talking stick and had to wait while one finished and let them, So I struggle that it's not struggle. I'm sad that they're choosing a different culture. 2 of them in particular. And I'm sad. I'm sad that the world doesn't work for everyone. So seeing homeless people, seeing people go shopping and, they can only buy food that's not nourishing. I can fill a shopping bag up or 2 and it's $300. And I've cried at a supermarket checkout. I think, how are families managing, So I don't struggle with it, but I'm really sad about it. Sad that there's really under-resourced people emotionally, physically, with food. I'd love to live in a world where you don't pay for the basic food. That we're all back having gardens and help yourself. And I want to live in a world where the abundance of what Mother Nature provides is available for everyone, not just a few. I could go on all day about that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Janet, my final question is a question that you probably ask a lot of your clients, a lot of the people that you work with. And I want to go to younger Janet. What's the one thing you'd want to say to her?
This is usually my job that you're turning back on me. I love it. I would say who you are in your deepest place always shone through. You wanted to care for other people because you've got a big open heart.
Janet, we have a closing tradition on this podcast where the previous guest asked a question for the next guest, not knowing who they are. But in this case, you know who that guest was. The question for you today is, if you could have one dream come true, what would it be?
Oh, I think I've already said it. The one that food, basic food, is free. And that if I was Prime Minister, I would use the people who are incarcerated to teach them how to grow their own food so that they have their time in jail is growing food for the communities so that they won't need to steal because they can go and get everything they need.
Janet Redmond, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, wow. Janet, where can the people find you?
Yeah, janetredmond.com.
I think that was a conversation that I needed, and I think it was a conversation that will help a lot of people as well. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your knowledge, and thank you for your love as well, Janet. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the work you do, and I hope it touches lots of people's hearts.
All right, team. That concludes another episode of The Martin Show. Make sure you hit the subscribe button right here and give _The Martin Show a little bit of love. We'll drop Janet's socials. I don't know. We'll drop all her stuff below as well. And we'll see you guys next week for another episode. Mauri ora, kia ora.